Hi, I'm Ria. Welcome to It's the Audacity for Me, a personal development podcast that's a little different than most. This show is for anyone who's tired of the hustle mentality, but also recognizes that not everything is love and light. I'm here to help guide you to a more sustainable life that's in tune with nature, but also to help you see the light already inside of you. I can't wait to see you in this week's episode. Let's go. Welcome back. I am finally back. Welcome to season 2 of It's the Audacity for Me. I have been up to a lot. I know I haven't been recording in a while. It's been less than a year since I've last recorded, but it's been a while. So for those of you who don't know, I also run an online teaching business. So for kids, mostly younger kids, I have a few classes for older kids, but I teach unit studies, seasonal lessons, academic lessons, things like that. And I also work as an intervention coordinator or an RTI coach in the public school system. So RTI stands for Response to Intervention. And what this means is I coach teachers on how to help struggling students, and I help to coordinate those plans. Prior to this, I was in special education, and I loved finding creative ways to help all different types of students who needed extension, students who needed to go back and focus on more foundational skills. So that's what I do in a nutshell. And it's really similar to my other aspirations and my plans for this podcast. When I help teachers, most often, I find that they already know what to do. They just need someone to walk them through it, remind them of what they know, or just to encourage them. A lot of encouragement is really just deconditioning the limiting beliefs someone's developed throughout the years. Some of the ones that I hear most often sound like I'm not good enough, or I'm not qualified, I'm not good at this, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy, there's not enough hours in the day. I could go on and on. And these are real concerns. And that's really the thing about education. Some people might hear these as complaints, but there are very real barriers to teaching success. There's lack of funding, teachers are underpaid, schools can be overcrowded, and there are significant learning gaps. You can work so hard to plan engaging lessons and really try and make a difference. But as a teacher, your job isn't just to teach in the classroom, it's to be the person that gives hugs and figures out who didn't bring a lunch and where a book bag is and who's going to carpool. And there's so much involved with teaching that's not just teaching. And all of this can lead to frustration, burnout, and ultimately a mindset that really doesn't fix anything. My job isn't to sugarcoat these very real issues and concerns. Ignoring the issues doesn't help either. The only way to truly make a difference is to listen. Listen to the concerns of the people you're working with and really, truly listen. And that's what I try to do. I try to hear the concerns, and I also have tried to learn the system. And based on the concerns and what I know about the system, I can help find creative solutions that work for everyone. Life's a lot like that too. You can't ignore your trauma and expect life to be amazing. It's not all love and light, right? You have to integrate the parts of yourself that have been neglected, and you have to heal yourself and love yourself. And when I say love yourself, I truly, truly mean it. I mean that you have to trust your own word. If you say you're going to do something, you have to know that you have your own back. You have to love yourself and take care of yourself and put you first. And really be okay with who you are if you want to have a life that you love. And just like that on an individual level, it's like that on a societal level too. Societal problems can't be ignored because no one is free until we're all free. When there are people suffering in society, it makes it really, I guess for some people, maybe it doesn't faze them. But for me, as much as I dream of a mansion on an island somewhere with a swimming pool and I don't know, a bunch of really cool stuff, I really, in my heart of hearts, I don't want that unless there are unless no one in the world is struggling, I guess what I'm trying to say. I can't in good conscience have that and know that there are people going hungry. And this is something that I've really been thinking about the past couple of months and just kind of pondering on because, of course, I want to be successful like anyone else. But how do you do that when there are so many issues in society and there are so many people suffering? And ultimately, where I've landed is that I I want to lift other people up as I rise. And my job and my goal with this podcast is to help take you from where you want to be or where you are to where you want to be without ignoring the very real barriers that exist. I know that I cannot help every single person in the entire world on my own, but I've come to a place where if I've helped one person in my life, then I guess I've really done my job. So now you know a little bit more about what it is that I do and how I feel and my goals with this podcast. I want you to know more and I want to talk more about what's coming up for season 2. Let's go. So, more about season 2 and what to expect. In season 2, I really want to focus on both the macro and the micro. So, these bigger problems in society, but more so how they impact us on an individual level and what we can do about them in a couple of ways. What we can do to not get so bogged down by really heavy things, but also what we can do to contribute to the solution. So, with all of that being said, I do want to be a little more flexible with myself for season 2 because I think that it's really important if I'm going to be talking about boundaries and burnout and even talking about these really heavy topics. I want to make sure that I myself am staying grounded and just replenishing my own energy. So rather than trying to take on the whole world at once, I am looking at probably 1 or 2 episodes per month, but I'm also trying to be active on social media and my other platforms as well, and the other things I have going on as well. Now, in addition to that, I did create a Patreon account just as a way that you can show support for the podcast if you feel called to. If not, that's totally fine too. But it's also a way for me to expand the coaching that I do. So, like I said earlier, I coach teachers in the public school setting, and all of the things that I talk about with them and all of the coaching that I do, they already know the technical piece of it. They just need someone that holds their hand, encourages them, and reminds them of who they are really and what the possibilities are. So I want to expand that to other people as well. So I did create an option on the Patreon for that. It's still waiting to get approved as far as when this podcast episode is being recorded, but if it gets approved or whatever the case is, I will put the link in the show notes if it's available by the time I go to post. So with all that being said, what is season 2? How is it different from season 1? Well, it's the same show, of course, the same themes, discussions, etc. All about encouraging people, giving them the audacity or the permission to live authentically, regardless of whether or not that fits what life should look like. My goal is for listeners to walk away feeling empowered, feeling like they have a choice in their reality, while also recognizing the very real impacts of socioeconomic status, racism, misogyny, and all of the other inequalities and biases and hatred that exist in the world. It's the Audacity for me was born from a desire to educate, empower, and ultimately validate people in their experiences and help them to achieve their wildest dreams, whatever that looks like for them. In season 2, I really want to take a bird's eye perspective, that macro perspective, on many of the issues that we see in the news, from abortion rights to worker exploitation, the housing crisis, or the Great Resignation. I want to explore so many of the issues and really the roots of the issues that we see now and address some of the ways that we can target the cause. Now, in some episodes, this might be looking at the history of something or just kind of examining how we got here. But at the end of the day, I want this to be a place where millennials can come to make sense of the world. Our parents couldn't have prepared us for the world we're in today, just like we really can't prepare our kids for the world they're going to live in. I was thinking about it the other day, how disconnected and removed from other generations we are because of the global economy and technology and just our ability to do anything within seconds and, having the world in our pockets. But at the same time, previous generations had things like that too. Of course, they might not have had the newest iPhone or Apple product or whatever. They might not have had that technology, but going back in generations, you can see the unique landscape that they were in and the situations and circumstances and political climates that shaped their lives. And whenever a parent generation goes through that, they're trying to prepare their kids the best they know how for the world that they live in. But you can never predict what world your kids are going to have to live in. So that's really what I want to do with this podcast. I want to help you navigate all of that. I want to help you navigate the world that we're in today. And honestly, the one thing you can count on in this world is, in general, everything's going to change and evolve. There isn't anything permanent. We simply can't predict the future. We can't predict that the world our kids are going to live in is the world that is similar to what we live in today. We just can't. And as human beings, our brains, we try to see permanence. We seek permanence, and we get into a lot of trouble with that because we have like friendships or relationships or situations, whatever. We have workplaces. We have all these situations in our lives or these relationships in our lives that we try to assign permanence to. And when we do that, it kind of puts restrictions on things, and it kind of makes it to where you are reading more into situations than maybe you need to. Whereas if you live in the present and you kind of just let things ebb and flow as they will, as life changes, then you have a better sense of grounding because you're grounded within yourself. And those are things that I'm going to talk more about as we go into this new season of the podcast. But most importantly, I want you to take away from this that it's still the same. You may have noticed in the beginning, I re-recorded the introduction. It's a little more fitting to what I want the podcast to be and what I want everything to represent. But there was a line from the previous introduction that said, break free from what you've always done and live a life more in tune with the balance of nature. Then you're in the right place if you want to break free. So I still believe in that, and I still think that's accurate. The reason that I updated it a little bit, and I still put that in tune with nature part in, but the reason I updated it is because when you hear someone say the balance of nature, while I am all for, eco-friendly products and, not dumping chemicals in the earth and using pesticides, and I make my own soap and I grow herbs and I do all of that. However, that's not really what I'm teaching. I'm teaching more the balance of the seasons and how we can learn from nature what our lives really should look like. With capitalism, we have gone so far away from the natural rhythms that our earth, our bodies, families, everything. We've gone away from that balance that nature already gave us. We didn't really need to rewrite it, but we did anyway. So I am trying to help break free from that and break into what works for people on an individual level. So if that's something you're interested in, I hope you hang out, you follow along for season 2. I'm super duper excited. This was just a quick little intro to the next season, and I can't wait to see you soon. I hope you have an awesome, awesome day, and I'll see you for episode 2. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, let's connect. You can find me on all the socials, but primarily check me out over on TikTok. You can also look at the show notes for links from today's episodes to connect further and to support and unlock bonus content over on Patreon. I can't wait to connect with you soon. Bye.